on a petition that's for something that it may very well benefit Caroline County, and if it can benefit it, I'm for it. But I wish that you guys would take some time and look into this matter. You know, I appreciate the time for the Board of Supervisors and the citizens of this county. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hooley. Next we have, okay, does anybody remember signing after Mr. Hooley? Is it Walter Baker? After Mr. Baker will be Lakeisha Charles, and then Nathaniel Jiggets. Oh,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, to the board.
Mr. Baker.
My name is Walter Baker. I'm in the Port Royal District. For this project myself, because I think it's a good thing for the county. I've been in the county all my life. I'll put it that way. I've never been nowhere else but Caroline County. And I know just about everything in Caroline County, what's going on in Caroline County, and there's not a whole lot in Caroline County. In Caroline County, we got one high school. And so we need this project, because one thing I will say, I don't want my taxes to be raised, because I think I'm paying enough taxes now, and I don't have money every week to pay or raise taxes on my property. So I think this is a good project. I don't know Mr. Sylvia or Mr. Cheney, but I have seen a lot of Mr. Sylvia's work. But Mr. Cheney coming in, and I looked at his projects and everything, I think it's going to be a real good project. $61,000 a year in Caroline County. That's like $100,000 in D.C. And I think that's a good start right there. I won't get none of that piece of that pie. But I got a daughter that we adopted, and at 3 months old, now she's 10 years old. I'm hoping she'll get some of that pie. But my other daughter, she's doing well, and my son doing well, but we hoping for her to get some of that pie. So I'm hoping that y'all look at me real good here now. Once Mr. Cheney started this project, don't y'all raise my taxes no more. Thank y'all.
I'm sure we'll be in touch with Mr. Baker later. Who was next? Ms. Childs?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Lakeisha Childs, and I am from the Bowling Green District. Thank you to the entire board for this opportunity. I just want to say that I am in support of the Silver Company and Cheney Enterprises on the proposal of sand and gravel extractions at Moss Neck. Caroline County has grown a lot since I was a little girl, but there is still a continued need for growth and opportunity. I feel that Cheney Enterprise will bring forth new jobs, increase revenue, and bring about new opportunities and a new sense of pride in Caroline County. They have an impeccable and impressive record of safety, care, and concern for the community, and so should Caroline County. The farm already reaches out to the residents of Caroline County and its surrounding areas with donations, which at some times puts food on the tables of those who may not have had it otherwise. So again, how can we go wrong in supporting those who are already supporting us? And I am in support of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Childs. Who was next? Nathaniel Jiggets? Mr. Jiggets is not here. Shirley Latney? Joe Parker. Him I can see. After Mr. Parker will be Mrs. Parker. Oh, and then John Parker? Well, why don't all the Parkers come on down?
I've got some things to submit after I speak.
You can give those to Mr. Parton after you speak.
My name is Joe Parker, Port Royal Voting District. I reside less than 300 yards from the proposed mine. I have lived and worked in Caroline all of my life and have had my business here in this spot for 27 years. First, I want to discuss Route 17. As evidenced by the photos I'm going to give you in a few minutes, The road has had many, many cracks and broken edges. I'm only showing you a few. I easily would have gone broke if I'd photographed every spot with cracks. I call your attention to the photos that are directly in front of the Hayfield mine now, which were only taken a few weeks ago, just after VDOT had repainted the lines. I know it is an old cliche, but you can put lipstick on a pig, but it is still a pig. If there were only a few spots like this, you might think no big deal, but there are hundreds of spots like this between Port Royal and the Spotsylvania line. Common sense says more trucks equal more road damage. I'm going to continue to speak about common sense throughout the night. You have heard many things, people saying, this is where the gravel is, and the demand is high. Well, if that's the truth, then why aren't the other mines going full tilt? Common sense says we do not need another mine. You have heard that we desperately need jobs, but here is information taken from the Caroline County website dated October 30th, 2014, bragging that the unemployment rate in Caroline is only at 5.6%, less than 1% off the state leader, Stafford County, at 4.8%. This is good news, and you should be very proud of it. It doesn't happen often enough. But there are only a few jobs offered by this project, and there's no guarantee that any of them will go to Caroline residents. Common sense tells us that jobs from this mine will impact a tiny fraction of Caroline residents, if any. Now, from a taxpayer point of view, how does this add up? I also am going to be submitting all of the reports from the Commissioner of the Revenue's Office for all of the mines in Caroline for the last 10 years, including the boom time when lots of gravel was being mined. Not a whole lot of tax dollars for the county. I also learned when doing research that sand and gravel trucks hired in Spotsylvania or Stafford or any county that is not in Caroline is not taxable in Caroline. Common sense tells us the county is not making enough on these mines to make it worth the cost of added truck traffic and losing our quality of life. I have heard from Larry Silver himself that 90% of all of the trucks leaving the mine will be headed north, which means in 5 miles they will no longer be in Caroline County. In those 5 miles there are no restaurants, no gas stations, no stores, not one. Not one. No incoming tax dollars there or money for county businesses. So who will really benefit from this mine? I think we all know. I have run my photography business at this spot for 27 years. Most of my portraits are done outside, environmental type portraiture. This project would not be compatible for my business or any of my clients trying to drive here.
Mr. Parker.
I don't like the idea of calling people and telling them they have to watch for gravel trucks. I'm almost done, just a tiny bit more. I bought our property and have stayed here because I was born here and raised here. I like it here. I plan to retire right here. My wife taught public school for 40 years,
Mr.
17
Parker,
in Caroline.
Mr. Parker, summarize right now.
Just use common sense.
Thank you,
We don't
sir.
need this one.
Thank you, sir.
And please, please, look at the photographs, read the documentation. It's all from the county.
Thank you. Mrs. Parker,
If you have any questions about any of the information, I'll still be here for a little while.
Mrs. Parker, 3 minutes, please.
Mine is much shorter.
Thank you.
I'm Patricia Parker. I live in the Port Royal District. Since I live right across the street from the proposed mine, obviously I'm against it, as you would be if a sand and gravel mine was going to be built right across the street from your house. My husband, son, and I are not part-time residents. We don't live in Fredericksburg or Spotsylvania, King George. We are not newcomers to the area. My husband and son were born here. I started teaching here in 1973. I got married here, built a home here, built our business here, retired here. We have one house, one business, both of which we have poured our heart and soul into for the past 27 years. Our son lives in Caroline with his wife, and he works at Fort A.P. Hill. We are the people of Caroline. Caroline is our home. If we as longtime residents and small business owners don't want to live across the street from a sand and gravel mine, it should matter to you. I'm so tired of begging. I stood up here and begged the board not to accept Sneed's mine, just 2 miles from this mine. That too passed away, and no, that too passed anyway, and no tax money is coming in from there. I stood up here and begged the board not to pass the Vulcan mine, just an air mile from these other mines. It too passed, and again the county received no tax money. And of course, Hayfield Mine, also on Route 17, has a site closed sign posted out front. They are just doing the bare minimum so they can keep their permit active. Our county has certainly done plenty to support sand and gravel, but obviously there's not as much demand for sand and gravel as we've been led to believe. It makes no sense to approve this mine. Only a few jobs have been proposed by Cheney. Very little tax money comes back to the county. The additional traffic will make Route 17 an even more dangerous road. And approving this mine opens the doors to a complete breakdown of our comprehensive plan. The negative consequences of this mine far outweigh the positives. Let me conclude with this. We are here tonight because a special exception permit is required for this mine, as it was for every other mine in this resource-sensitive area. Our comprehensive plan states special permission is required. Special, meaning out of the ordinary. Special, meaning that it is a rare thing to get such permission. Since every mine that has requested a special exception has received one, it seems to me like Caroline has trouble remembering the definition of special.
Thank you, Mrs. Parker. John Parker.
John Parker, Port Royal Voting District. I grew up directly across from the proposed mine site and still visit my family there frequently. Although I have many concerns about the proposed mine, the increased risk to Caroline County residents and travelers on Route 17 from the 400 additional 80,000-pound trucks is the most concerning. Combine these 400 proposed trucks with the 700 already approved trucks from mines less than 5 miles away, brings the total number of trucks traveling on Route 17 to the possibility of over 1,000 per day. About a month ago, my father was run off the road by a large truck right in front of our house, across from the proposed mine site. He was so concerned that he called Sheriff Tony Lippa and voiced those concerns about the current number of trucks on 17, and also asked his opinion on the 400 proposed trucks that this mine would add to our narrow 2-lane byway each day. Sheriff Lippa agreed with him that the increased truck traffic on the highway was a problem and that adding 400 more trucks per day was even more dangerous and not in the best interest of the citizens of Caroline County and fellow travelers of Route 17. In 2008, a lady in a pickup truck was hit and killed in front of the Belvedere Farm on the Caroline-Spotsy border by a fully loaded mine truck weighing over 80,000 pounds that left the Hayfield mine in Caroline County, which is only 1 mile from the proposed new mine site. If it had been your wife, mother, daughter, sister, grandmother, or aunt who was hit and killed 6 years ago by an 80,000-pound truck, would you consider this mine's special exception permit as special as she was? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Nancy Long, Kay Watson, and then Alex Long. Who has the photos? Did you see them, Calvin? You saw them?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Madam Mayor, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. My name is Nancy Long, Port Royal District. I'm going to take you down a history trip a little bit for some of you who are younger. About 30 years ago, Larry Silver bought a piece of property in Caroline County, which we now know as Portabago subdivision. At that time, he asked for a special permit. He wanted to partner with 1,000 Trails and turn the land into a private membership campground. Board of Supervisors said, no, it's not what our comp plan says. It's not what we need there. Do what you have a right to do. We now have Portabago Bay. From my calculations, look at the GIS map on the county website and the tax rates on real estate alone. We should be getting about $180,000 from that subdivision a year, and that does not include personal property tax. I've heard our citizens talk about how the county needs money, and we do, and that we need jobs. Well, let's let the Silver Company do what they have a right to do and what they are good at. We've already heard Mr. Reinhardt say that development is coming. Let's do what he has a right to do. Someone who's been in violation of mining illegally does not need a special exception. He needs to do what he knows how to do. Construction, road work, plumbing, roofers, painters, landscaping, maintenance. Let's do real long-term jobs and set a stable foundation and an income for our citizens. Let's not look at short-term, sell us down the road, 10-year projects that might make us a few $1,000s. We need better jobs and better quality for our citizens than that. And do that by sticking to your comp plan and letting Mr. Silver do what he has a right to do, and let's establish some real jobs and real income for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Ms. Watson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kay Watson. I live in the Port Royal District. And a few things I want to touch on. The commander of AP Hill mentioned the lights, and I did want to say that I live right off 17 there, and every time I go through there by Pender campsite, there's a light on. There's a security light, a very bright mercury vapor light that I've never seen off from sundown to sunlight. The other thing is, someone mentioned that the no taxes were coming for Sneed's and Black Marsh Mine. Well, they're not in operation yet because of lawsuits, so that would be the reason. A lot of people have brought up the comprehensive plan. I've read the Virginia law concerning the comprehensive plan, and it does say that the comprehensive plan should be general in nature. So it seems to me that you would be able to give an exemption on this. I do not like the comprehensive plan, for the record. I am very alarmed at the many government controls in our country today. In some places, children can't sell lemonade from a stand. In some places, people can't feed the homeless in certain areas. In some places, people can't have vegetable gardens in their front yard on their own property. I believe in owner property rights, whether it's an individual or a group of individuals or a company. I think that the owner should have the right to use their land in the most profitable way for them. This country and in this county also needs more taxes dollars and jobs, all that we can get actually. Please approve the Cheney mining project.
Thank you, Mrs. Watson. Alex Long?
Alex Long, Port Royal District. Mr. Chairman, on a personal note, I, after much work and study, passed the exam to gain the designation as American Institute of Certified Planners from the American Planning Association. So my first part of my remarks, I'm going to stand up for the idea of good planning. And good planning focuses in on not just the law, but the spirit of the law. And indeed, with zoning, we look to the Code of Virginia, and the Code of Virginia is very specific as to the issues a legislative body will look towards to resolve a zoning matter. We look to our own Caroline County ordinances, which are very specific as to the framework that's applied to addressing a decision regarding a zoning matter. Zoning is not a privilege that you give to someone because they want to be Santa Claus. It's not a privilege to be granted, because you can give that privilege to someone. You say, "Are you a good person?" And they say, "Yes." And you give them the zoning, they get run over by a truck tomorrow. They're gone. They're dead. But the zoning survives. The zoning attaches to the land. You don't deny zoning or privileges to someone because you think they're a bad person. That's equally as bad. Therefore, to resolve a zoning issue, we look at the framework we have. And someone might not like the comprehensive plan, but that is required by law. By the way, zoning is discretionary. A comp plan is required. And so my remarks I had written up and I was going to speak to were about the resource-sensitive area and why after rejecting a mine in the year 2001, this board voted unanimously to adopt the RSA district, unanimously. As a matter of fact, Mr. Akers thought instead of one house per 25 acres, it should be one house per 50 acres to protect the valley. And indeed, it does protect the valley. Why? And it does serve a benefit. It helps Fort A.P. Hill, as the commander or the colonel addressed. The Rappahannock River Valley is where Caroline County hopes one day to get its drinking water. It protects a number of historical natural resources that are important to, if not all the community, then at least a number of the community. So the RSA does have a value. And the people who are in the RSA district pay a price because their development rights have been decreased 250%. We went from one house per 10 acres to one per 25. The people pay a price for that. And to say to one group, you can bulldoze it, you can dig it up and cart away, and then another group, you can't build a house on it, it's not fair. You need to figure out whether you really want an RSA district. If you do, you need to deny this application. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Did you have some written comments you wanted to submit?
Oh, yes, sir. You're very kind. Thank you.
Well, don't let that get out. Major Mosier?
Scott Mosier, Bowling Green District. Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here tonight to speak. I'm very impressed with what I've heard tonight. We need the revenue, we need the jobs, and it's all very good for Caroline County. The only hurdle that we do not feel that they've overcome is the traffic on Route 17 for the 400 trucks. That road has needed to be a 4-lane for many years. It's a major road. There's a large amount of traffic, already has a large amount of trucks on that road. The sheriff has studied it, looked at it thoroughly, and it would be a great concern of public safety for the people that travel that road. So, and just for that reason, all the other reasons are great. We need jobs, we need revenue, but for that reason, for public safety, we would recommend that the board do not approve this special exception. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Mosier. We have actually completed the list of all the people who signed up in advance. So I will, one of the rules was no clapping. I will ask at this time if there is anyone who would like to speak, who hasn't spoken already. Okay. Well, since my mother raised me right, ladies first, ma'am, if you would like to come up, state your name and your voting district, and then, sir, I'll allow you. Are you with the applicant? Sir, are you with the applicant? You are, but you're not? Okay, well, we'll get to you in a second. Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Barbara Bird from the Bowling Green District. I did not come prepared to speak. I do not have a pretty speech. After listening to all the comments, I feel like I should speak. After listening to all the outstanding, wonderful, glorious, godlike qualities of Mr. Silver and the Cheney Corporation, I wonder how Mr. Silver would feel if he knew his name was associated with a petition that has fraudulent names, mine being one. And I sincerely hope that you, Board of Supervisors, do not vote until the issue of the signatures has been resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. All right, sir, you were part of the applicant's team. The applicant has had his opportunity to present. What we will do is, as the board members have questions, the applicant may call on you to answer some of those questions. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. We will give you another chance, sir. Mr. Fincham. As is our policy at this time, after the public hearing, board members may ask questions of Mr. Fincham if they wish, or the applicant. Mr. Taylor, I guess we'll start, I'm sorry, we'll start at this end again. Mr. Seeley, would you have any questions for Mr. Fincham?
Let me back up, because I'm not ready, because I wasn't sure how you were going to do the order.
I'll start in the middle. Mr. Underwood, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good. Mr. Fincham, excuse me, sorry. Mr. Fincham, going through this process, you're always going to have pros and cons, but one item sticks out as the traffic issue.
Yes, sir.
Can you speak to your conversations with VDOT, if you've had those, and their concerns or lack of concerns, or where we are in terms of traffic and safety?
Yes, sir. I believe there have been 3 iterations of a traffic study for this proposed application. Staff concerns, first 2 iterations, VDOT came back. The question was level of service. Our comprehensive plan recommends a minimum level of service C for the road system and any impacts thereto. The traffic impact analyses came back confirming that level of service C would not be violated. And I believe VDOT has concurred with those findings. You will note in our staff report that staff, understanding the intersection analysis, was concerned about the type of truck traffic, the speed of that truck traffic, and the impact on the segment, the road segment. So, for example, the segment of road between Burma Road and Petmeyer Hill Road, okay? How the trucks entering the highway would impact the level of service on that road segment. The applicant has, again, looked at that issue and generated a report which is currently at VDOT being reviewed. I handed out this evening, because we had not yet received comments from VDOT, we checked with them today. You have their preliminary response, for lack of a better term. We do not have an official response from VDOT, but you have the comments that they provided to us today.
One more thing. In terms of the comprehensive plan that we're hearing so much about, the last iteration of the comprehensive plan was put in place when?
The entire plan was adopted by the board in 2010.
Can you tell me how many changes to the comprehensive plan or have occurred since that time? Updates, changes?
There's been one update which was limited to the Carmel Church area when the board adopted the UDA designation in 2011. But there have been no other changes in the comprehensive plan adopted by the board relative to this area of the county since 2010.
Okay. Would you agree that the comprehensive plan is a living document?
I think the comprehensive plan is the board's guide
in terms of how you want to see development in the county and where you want that to occur. I think it is a living document in the sense that it gets updated over time, and the policies, rules, regulations, ordinances adopted by the board should be based upon that comprehensive plan.
So that general framework is what you're saying?
Yes, sir. That's the single most, from a planning perspective, the comprehensive plan is the document from which other rules and regulations flow from.
Absolutely. So looking at the comprehensive plan and this project specific, does it fall within the guidelines of the comprehensive plan?
I think in the staff report that is addressed.
I know it is, but I want to hear you. I want a verbal.
I think in several respects there has been justification made with respect to standards in the ordinance. I think at the end of the day, the concerns that the board has to address are the agricultural preservation, whether it is consistent with that provision of the comprehensive plan, and the standards for the resource-sensitive area. The RSA defines or outlines a number of standards that the board has to be comfortable that this application meets those standards. One of those is the character of the area and whether the application changes the character of the area. I think that's been much of the discussion tonight is whether previously approved and this application change the character of the area.
No more questions at the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Akers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And maybe this may be some questions to Mr. Childs or someone that he'd like to pass on to.
Mr. Childs?
No,
Where are you?
first of all, I have a question for
Go ahead.
Mike. I see on page 15 of the documents you've handed out to us tonight, the hours of operation from 6 to 6. I thought I recently heard something 7 to 5.
I believe the applicant requested hours of operation from
6 to 6 or 5 to
6 to 6, and hold on.
It's in here that the planning commission approved 6 to 6, but I thought I just recently heard that it was 7 to 5.
That's correct. I think the planning commission did approve 6 to 6.
Okay, so that is what we would be voting on, 6 to 6, and not what we've heard recently?
Unless there is a request to amend those hours.
Okay.
That is what the planning commission recommended. Yes, sir.
Under item 14, I see that retail sales may be permitted as an accessory to the mining operation. Does the county get any type of additional revenue from that as far as sales taxes and things of that nature?
I would refer that question to Ms. Carter.
Ms. Carter? I'm sorry?
She said it depends on how it's sold.
Are they going to have a retail outlet in
It says retail sales may be permitted, so it tells me it's retail sales.
So maybe this is it. You're gonna allow me to come up there with a pickup truck and buy a pickup truck worth of sand. That's what you would consider a retail sale. So after I buy that pickup truck full of sand, you're of course going to report to Mrs. Carter what I paid for that, and you're going to pay taxes on it. Mrs. Carter's the tax lady. You'll do whatever. Is that what you said?
Yeah, we report sales taxes in accordance with all the laws. Our CFOs.
Okay, you need to come to the microphone just to make sure we have all of it on record. I translate fairly well, but not always accurate.
I try to speak pretty well. Maybe I confuse.
Okay.
Yeah, the retail sales outlet is anybody in the area that wants to come and buy a small amount of sand or gravel can come in. We usually charge a flat fee for it, maybe $20 a pickup load, $15 a pickup load. It is billed, whatever applicable sales taxes are on there. I think we pay the sales taxes at the end of every month. Once a month, we pay sales taxes in all the jurisdictions we operate in.
Okay.
How about a BPO tax? Is that Does it have any bearing since it is a retail sales operation?
Retail, not on the mine.
No, but I'm on retail sales.
On retail sales.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Charles, the hours of operation, are you saying you have to have 6 to 6, Monday through Friday? And I think Saturday is 8 to noon, and nothing on Sunday?
Bear with me a second.
There was, I think the confusion that we're seeing here is that at the Planning Commission meetings, we had discussed the initial hours of operation were 6 to 6. That was our original application. We had made a proffer to say that we would go to 7 to 5, but it was never acted on.
You're not really making a proffer.
You're
amending your condition.
Correct. There was a request, if we wanted to go to 7 to 5, would we be willing to do so? We had said yes. However, the Planning Commission never modified it in their report. Therefore, it's still 6 to 6.
Okay. Mr. Charles, I have this question for you. Is the fact that the current conditions listed here does not address the fact that if you walk away from this mining operation and say, I'm no longer going to mine this property if it's approved, I would like to see something put in here that says the special exception permit goes with Cheney and not the property. So if Cheney Enterprises ceases operation, then that special exception and the owner of the property would have to come back to the board to get authority or get permission or another special exception.
We've done that before.
To continue mining.
We've done that before. I'm trying to remember how.
That is not right.
We've done it before.
Yes, we've done that with Black Marsh's application. So it's not something that's a precedent, but I'd like to see it. Whereas, to me, this operation is about Cheney Enterprises. As far as I know, I don't know that Mr. Silver is going to mine sand and gravel. It's going to be Cheney Enterprises. So this is about Cheney Enterprises and what this special exception means to them, and not necessarily what it means to Mr. Silver. Do you have a problem with that?
First off, we've never walked away from a sand and gravel operation in our life.
I understand that, and I have complete...
Here's protection, and I would like to ask Larry one question, and I'll be right back here.
All right.
Mr. Akers, in response to your question about the hours,
Yes.
there was discussion at the Planning Commission about modifying the hours of operation, but there was also a concern raised that those modified hours would actually potentially conflict with school buses on the road and the timing of, for example, the first round of trucks coming to the property.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it stayed 6 to 6.
It may be best to have it 6 to 6. I was just asking because I know I'd heard the times of 7 to 5.
The answer to your request is, if we were to stop mining or walk away, would we be okay with that? The next person, if somebody came forward, having to come back and ask for another special exception request, we're fine with that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, I need to write that down. We got like a change. Okay. Mr. Seeley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the comments that I heard from the Port Royal Town Council is that Cheney Industries or their trucks that they loaded would not go through the town of Port Royal. The material would go the opposite direction on Route 17. Is that not true, Mayor Long? That was what you were all told? That no trucks, by her supervisor, that no, so am I to understand that no trucks will go through the town of Port Royal and back up at that light?
I beg your pardon, I didn't say no trucks. I think what I said was information that I had received was 90% of the traffic would turn left and go into Spotsylvania, and perhaps 10% might go the other way.
Which would be consistent.
That's what
Which
I
would be
said.
consistent with what they said. But Mr. Childs, if you will come back and allow, or you or Mr. Murray or whoever you'd like to have with you, if you'll come back and address Mr. Seeley's questions, I would appreciate it.
Mr. Seeley, would you mind restating the question?
My understanding in discussions with the town of Port Royal, the mayor and the town council, is that they were told that no trucks would be going through Port Royal with sand and gravel. That the traffic was going to go north on 17 and into Spotsylvania. I guess I'm just trying to first establish that.
That's not accurate, no. The trucks will go both ways, and the majority, from what we're estimating, will go towards 95, and the minority will go the other way. I'm not even familiar enough with the roads. I know what's in Port Royal, and if it's that main road, I don't know how else you'd get to to 301.
I'm Hall Cheney, Executive Vice President of Cheney Enterprises. I actually had the conversation with the mayor of Port Royal at one of our town hall meetings that we put on. The conversation was the numbers that we used in our traffic study were based on 90%, 10%. And that's an accurate depiction of where we believe the materials will go. So it wasn't that no traffic would go to Port Royal. What it was the vast majority would be going in the other direction. And that's actually what was used in the traffic study, is what we base our volume sales to be and where to be. Because one of the statements that was asked of us,
Stop slow walking.
one of the
Yeah,
statements,
let me ask, you recently have purchased road concrete, is that not true?
not recently, that's been purchased.
But, so you'll be sending, I guess my point is you'll be sending material.
Yes, the King George plant, which is our lowest volume plant. So we base it on sales. The amount of sand and gravel used in concrete is a percentage, obviously, based on the yardage of concrete you're selling. We took those numbers to generate where the 90-10 depiction would be, if that makes sense.
And I guess my concern is that the traffic through 17 turning on to 301.
Yes, sir.
Is going to be impacted by additional traffic because you are going to have to deliver material to row concrete. I'm just getting to the bottom line.
We believe 10% of the volume is going to be.
What does that mean, 10%? Put a number to it. 20 trucks, 40 trucks?
20 trips a day. So, 200 trips, if you do 10%, that's 20. That would be the number that was used for the study. There's no way we could stand here right now and tell you that it's going to be.
I'm just trying to put a number to a percentage.
We can guarantee you that it's going to be the mass majority are going to be going in the other direction. Yeah, sure. But the reason I stepped up was because I did have that conversation with her.
So you're the one that talked to the town council?
Well, we all did. We were all there.
All right.
It was a town hall meeting that we put on in order to.
How about we do it like this? Y'all talk to the town council.
Yes.
All right, or you guys, wherever you're from, whatever. So it's not Mr. Taylor telling town council directly or whatever.
I had that conversation.
You had the conversation.
Yeah, and the question, the question originally was because.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You had 200 trucks in your estimate of your study, right?
Yeah, it's trips.
Trips per day, 200 trips per day. You estimate 10% of those trips will go the other way, which is 20. So the other 180 go the other way. Just want to.
Well, wait a minute. The 200. Are we talking about?
That's what he said.
200 loaded trucks a day is the. I want to get to the number of trucks that get loaded a day. How many?
Okay, and you can't answer that. We've asked for a maximum of 200 loads per day. The amount of traffic that comes out of there will depend on the market demand. It's also a seasonal, cyclical business. In the wintertime, in December, we do very little business. We do very little business in January and February. It starts to pick up in the spring. It caps up at 200 loads is what we've asked for. So to really try to pin this to how many loads per day and where it's going, we can't tell you that.
But you're saying 200 trips is maximum.
No, they're saying 200 loaded trucks.
200 loaded trucks.
Yes, that's right.
400 trucks, because 200 have to go there and 200 have to leave.
Same trucks, but.
It's the same truck, it's a
Well,
load.
yeah, but it's a different trip.
We're just talking
But
trips.
we're talking,
That's
they've
fine.
got to come off of 17 and go back onto 17. So you could potentially have to stack up 8 or 10 trucks an hour. I mean,